to the Gen X Remix, Midlife, Laughs, and Next Acts. I'm your host, Tabitha Jones, the Corporate Escape Sherpa and Career Advancement and Leadership Coach. Around here, we talk about what it really takes to leave the corporate world and write your next act with confidence. Whether you're building your exit plan or already out on your own, I'm here with the bold strategies and real talk you need. And speaking of bold moves, enrollment is now open for the Corporate Escape Accelerator. This is my signature 6-month group program for midlife women who are ready to stop the Googling at 3 a.m. and start building a business that aligns with your values, goals, and bank account. We help you design, launch, and grow your business before you leave your paycheck behind. Sound interesting? Head over to the show notes and apply today. Now, today's guest is a woman who is flipping the script on retirement money shame and what it means to feel empowered with your finances. Stephanie McCullough, founder of Sofia Financial and the co-host of Take Back Retirement podcast, named one of Investopedia's top 10 financial advisors of 2023. Stephanie works primarily with women of a certain age, especially those navigating retirement planning solo, and brings a refreshingly non-judgmental, emotionally intelligent approach to money. If money talk makes you a little cringy, this episode is the warm, wise, and fun remix that you need to hear. So let's dive in.
I need to let you know that I offer investment advice through Private Advisor Group, which is a federally registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations to any individual. That means you. To determine which strategies or investments might be suitable for you, please consult the appropriate qualified professional before you make any decisions. Thanks.
All right, Stephanie, welcome to the Gen X Remix. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. I'm excited to be here with you, Tabitha.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited because this is a conversation that I've been dying to have, and it is so important. But before we jump in, our favorite question here is, what is your remix story?
Oh, well, I guess it's kind of two parts, right? So when I was 30, which is now 28 years ago, I changed careers, total switcheroo. And even though I grew up not wanting to do what my dad did, I ended up joining his business and becoming a financial advisor. So that was kind of the first remix. But then I was like, oh, shoot, I can't do this work because I'm not like him. He's like a natural born sales guy, loves selling, which I do not. And he had a fancy finance degree. And I did not. So since he was my one role model, I was like, okay, I can't do this work. But also I joined the family business, which obviously is a life sentence, right? Like I can't get out of it. So what am I going to do? And luckily I found a coach. This was like 1998 before anyone knew what a coach was. I did not understand. And he said, just do one free session. And by the end of it, of course, I was crying and I was like, I need your help. Oh. And what, the short version is I eventually found like, oh, I can maybe do this work in a slightly different way with a different focus. And there's parts about it that I really love. So maybe I can kind of craft my own path, which is what I've done.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And it's funny how we try to fit ourselves in these boxes just based on, what we've seen from other people and all of that. I led technical teams and no one ever believes that by talking to me. They're like, oh, clearly you were in HR. I'm like, no, I led technical teams. But also, sometimes our gifts are the fact that we aren't like everyone else and you relate to people differently. Oh my gosh, what a great remix.
I think that's so true. And, I'm the firstborn. I'm a rule follower, brought up to be a good girl. So like, if I see like, this is how you do it, I think, oh, this is how you do it. But that's not necessarily the best way.
Oh my gosh. I love that you tapped on that too. Also firstborn, also mostly a rule follower. We laugh about Gen X being so feral, but at the end of the day, we're feral, but we want permission and we want people to like us.
I think that's super true. That's the message I got.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. So good. So tell me about financial advising. So who do you help in your current work that you're doing?
Yeah, I really have kind of narrowed down to focusing on women, lots of Gen Xers, lots of boomers, kind of 50 and up. And I feel like I do the best work. I can make the most difference with women who are on their own, which means never married, widowed, divorced. And the common denominator is no one to talk to about their money. Not to say there's plenty of married women who have no one to talk to about their money too. But, when you're single, like it's still not okay to talk about money with people. It's not a polite topic. For the most part, it's a big taboo. And therefore, it's hard to make wise decisions when you're just spinning around in your own head.
Oh, so good. Why do you think it's such a taboo topic? I think it's so interesting. Like we keep our salaries quiet, we keep all of our investing quiet. I have a couple of friends who are in the same financial bracket as me, like plenty save for the future and all of that, but we always downplay it. And
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like, why do you think it's such a taboo topic for women?
I think it's taboo for a lot of people, but for, most people maybe, but for women specifically, we're taught that it's all just numbers and math and spreadsheets.
Mm.
But that's baloney. Money is very emotional. And of course, it's going to be emotional. It's a super personal topic. It's tied to all these very intimate parts of our lives, like our relationships and our feelings of security and self worth. And all of that, of course, it has to be emotional. And yet, and I think my industry does people a disservice by focusing on, oh, it's just about picking the best investment and, well, it's just math. My father used to say that all the time. It's just math. I'm like, but it's not.
I love that too, because when people say it's math, to me, my eyes immediately glaze over, my brain shuts down. I'm not a math person. I'm a money person. I can talk about vision and future and all of that kind of stuff. But when you say math, I'm like, oh, no, thank you.
Right, right. And then there's a lot of shame that women have picked up around money. It's completely understandable. And in my opinion, it's unwarranted because I can't tell you how many women have come to me and said, I know I should know this stuff.
Mm.
And I have to push back immediately. I'm like, oh, really? Who taught you? Did we learn about money in school? Most of us no. In fourth grade, I had a class where we got a fake checkbook and we had to write a little check and we had a certain budget. That was not teaching us about money and how to survive in the financial world. And our families usually aren't equipped to teach us. So we kind of learn just by example and osmosis. And then we're thrown out into this complicated financial system and it's sink or swim. Remember going to college and they used to throw credit card applications at us and give us a free Frisbee or a t-shirt or something. And then, of course, a lot of people ended up in credit card debt because we weren't taught about that stuff. So I think a lot of this kind of I should know shame, it's unwarranted.
Yeah, absolutely. And that point is so valid about, that throwing the credit cards at you. And we just didn't ever get that solid learning. Plus, a lot of us being raised by boomers and even the older generation that was our grandparents, which is it weird? I don't know what that older generation would be.
My parents are
Um,
the older generation. I don't know what they're called.
you know, our grandparents. But thinking about that, like they didn't really talk about money, but they were very, very careful about how they spent money, which led to I think, a lot of our money fears. And
Mm,
I say when I moved out of my parents' home, I was young, I was 18. And it had always been very conservative, the oldest of four kids, parents had general jobs. Like it wasn't like money was just trickling out of, people's behinds. And I went to school with a lot of kids where it was. They were doctor kids, dentist kids, whatever. So they had the
yeah.
money. We did not. And so moving and having my own paycheck and doing the things, I ended up right into that credit card pitfall because it was like, oh my God, I can have whatever I want, with no background of, yes, but you should still save this much of your paycheck and you should invest this much in your future.
Right.
And I learned the hard way. I
Hmm.
was very young, fortunately, so able to recover pretty quickly. But, it's about finding that balance and having people like you to talk to. I think that's so important. How would you say, well, when a client comes to you or a person comes to talk to you about money, what is the thing that's top of mind for them?
I say like the symptom varies. Maybe the symptom is, oh, I just inherited some money from Aunt Myrtle and I'm not sure where it should go. Or I had the webinar at work about the retirement benefits and, oh, I haven't really been thinking about this. Or sometimes it's, oh, I'm divorced now and I've got to figure out what I can afford on, either half the income or less than half the income or whatever it looks like. But that's just kind of the surface symptom, right? Kind of underlying. It seems like the common denominator is obviously like, am I going to be okay? Am I doing what I quote unquote should with my dollars? Am I being smart about it? So many people have used that exact phrase. I just want to make sure I'm being smart about it.
Mm. That's such a big deal for us, right? Being smart, making sure we're making the smart decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that women tend to come to you or gravitate more to you because you're a woman who sounds like you've been in their shoes, which is so important. When I left my corporate job, I'd been in corporate America for a long time. I had done great with investing on my own, saving for the future. And that having a second income, through my husband was also extremely something I don't take for granted because that made it a lot easier to invest and make decisions and make mistakes if I chose.
Right.
But when I was leaving my job, I reached out to my financial company, and it's Fidelity, and I went to their website and I looked for a woman about my age, and I reached out to Donna. I said, "Hey, Donna, we need to talk about money really quick." And so our very first call, her manager joined. And he said, I'm so-and-so. I can't remember his name. I'm so-and-so, and I'm just, here to observe, kind of hear how things are going with Donna. Kind of want to understand a little bit about what brought you here and, about this conversation. And I said, well, I'm going to be really direct with you. So buckle up, buddy. I'm like, I selected Donna because she is a female. She is about my age and she's in a corporate job. So I assume she understands a lot about my needs and where I'm at in life. And I'm looking to her for sound advice so that I'm making the best decisions as I go forward into my future investing as I'm working for myself and my income is shifting. He hung up off that call so quickly, like dismissed himself. He's like, it sounds like you're in good hands. Sounds like you know what you need. I'm going to just leave you in Donna's hands. Sounds like everything's good. I'm like, there you go. And it wasn't about making him uncomfortable. It was absolutely about making him understand there is value in having women on your team who have walked the walk that aren't going to make us feel judged. They're not going to make us feel like we've done stupid stuff. They're not going to make us feel like everything we're saying, we should be second guessing it or, giving us the dad talk. I don't need a dad talk. I need a woman to woman. This is the shit you should be thinking about kind of conversation.
Yeah.
So I can imagine you get a lot of that coming your way.
Yeah. And I think you used a really important word there, which is the judged part. And I would say yes, women advisors that I know tend to be more on that kind of non-judgmental side, but not everybody. Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of women who kind of came up in this industry where you kind of had to succeed or to meet whatever quotas they had in the system they were in, right? There are certain, more kind of sales focused environments to come up as a financial advisor. And they often, to succeed, had to kind of emulate their male managers or peers or, which, I don't want to generalize anybody, obviously, but I would just say, yes, you want to go into a professional situation where you're feeling supported and not judged and that you can talk about all the vulnerable things. I always say you want to feel comfortable getting financially naked with your advisor. And not like they're going to give you a hard time or even just do the eye roll or the, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just said that. You don't want any of that because in order to use our money wisely, we have to talk about all the personal things because money is just a tool. The goal is to line it up with our values, our vision for our life, what we're trying to do. And that's got to be personal.
Yeah. So personal and so good. And I remember with Donna, most of my money, of course, sitting in Fidelity or bank accounts like normal people. I say normal people, like average people who have worked a really long time in corporate. I also have this little bitty Robinhood account. And she asked me about it because, we have to get financially naked. Is
yes.
Your verbiage there. And she said, well, tell me about that. Like, why isn't that money in Fidelity? And I said, well, I just like to play with things a little bit because I'm curious. I want to understand crypto. I want to understand, what do these different stocks do and what does it look like? And she said, do you have any concern at all about, the amount of time you'll have to pay attention to that versus having it in a managed account? And I said, no, because that's what I enjoy. I'm learning about it. Oh, I've made mistakes. Don't get me wrong there, but I've also made some really great investments on my own, which has made it a little bit more fun. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's missing in the world of just financial literacy for women is it doesn't have that fun aspect that I think some of us are striving for. And there's even this feeling that we have to be experts. And
Yeah.
one of the things you say is that women don't have to be experts in order to manage their money well. Tell me a
Totally.
little bit about that.
Yeah. I love that you've got that little account. And when we say little, right, probably as a smaller percentage of your overall
Yeah.
investment portfolio. We call that like a sandbox, like somewhere where you can play. And I'll tell you, a lot of my clients, that would not be fun for them. They have zero interest in doing that and reading about it and learning. Their interests lie elsewhere. When they want to dive in and learn about something, they're doing something totally different. And that's totally fine. We can still be wise with our money, right? You don't have to go take a college course or read a heck of a lot of books. I think step zero is, like I was saying, get clear on what's the money for. And that seems like an obvious question, but I don't think it is, right? Oh, this money is for, I want to escape from corporate in 2.5 years. And then I want to be able to do this. Or it's for, I want to be able to support my kids and their growing and learning or whatever, right? There are endless possibilities to that question. So getting clear on that first, and then you can figure out some tools that can help you with that. I would say, yeah, finding a safe place to learn what the tools are, whether it's a professional that you trust or a resource that you trust and that will give you the level of depth you're looking for.
Yeah, no, I love that. One of the very first steps in the Corporate Escape Sherpa's plan is meeting with your financial advisor, assessing your
Mhm.
financial situation. Because something I've learned is that when we're in corporate, we spend money on whatever we want. We don't think about it. We don't even know how many subscriptions we have. We just blow our budget at White House Black Market. Like it's how we live. We've got a great salary. We don't have, as much worry and whatever's going on. And then as women are preparing to leave, they don't always think about those things. And
Mhm.
I've sat down with a few women before they've even gone to their financial advisor. And I said, let's look at your subscriptions. Let's look at what's going out every month, only to find out they have maybe 2 or 3 gym memberships that they've forgotten about because they never
Sure.
canceled. Or, how many streaming services. I'm like, pick your favorite 2 that you actually watch and let's start whittling down so you can invest that money into your safety net for your escape.
Mhm.
But I think that financial advising piece is huge. I'm not a financial advisor at all. I'm just very basic on the steps. I'm like, hey, go talk to Stephanie and let's figure this out so that you have that peace of mind and you know that you've got what you need to take the next step.
Right, right. And I think there's things like, don't even get me started about that particular leggings company where you're actually signing up for a subscription when you think you're just buying a pair of discount leggings. My daughter and I both fell for that one. And it took us years to extricate ourselves. Drives me crazy. That's how the world is set up, right? To pull us into these subscriptions. But I appreciate that you're a coach who doesn't shy away from talking about the money. I know plenty of coaches who don't want to go there, don't feel like it's their expertise, and therefore don't dive in. And I think it's really important because it's all tied together. We can't really talk about these things in isolation.
Well, and you need to know where your money's going. Even when I'm talking to women who want to make just a career pivot, maybe they don't want to go out on their own, but they want to transition careers. And it's, well, I need to make this amount of money. I'm like, okay, well, do you need to make that amount of money or do you really want to be happy doing something you love? And let's figure out really where the delta is between those two things. And
Mhm.
often it is, well, my family likes to take this ginormous vacation every year. Well, what if your family scales it back a little bit this year and we just go to San Diego or, we don't go to Tahiti this time or whatever it is. Or let's, maybe those extra things that you're paying for that aren't really adding value to your life, maybe we cut those back and see what it looks like and start adjusting to that different income level so you can go and live your days just being happy and doing work that you love. It's a really interesting dynamic, and I don't really shy away from the money talks. I kind of love them, which is why today is so much fun.
Oh, I think that's great. We often do, a values exercise with clients when they come on board. And then if we're looking at money, spending, right? We often try to, okay, let's line up the line items that you're spending with the values. Okay, what value does that one support? That one supports creativity and, my ability or connection. Oh, wonderful. Oh, this one, well, I just kind of do it because it was convenient or, whatever the reason is. Sometimes when you take that lens on it, it's easier to say, oh, well, my value of loving my work and shifting at this point in life is more important than whatever started me spending on this thing. So it's not as painful, right? It's not a restriction. It's a realignment, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so good. And we pay for so many things that we forget about. Oh my gosh.
Totally.
Think pandemic, right? 2020. Nobody's going anywhere. How many of us paid for satellite radio for over a year before we realized we're not getting in the car right now? We don't need it. Sorry, satellite radio. But and it was also really interesting to see how much that price came down as you canceled. And then the letters that came out, I'm like, wait, I could have been paying that this whole time. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The marketers know this stuff. They know the psychology.
they're so smart. You talk a little bit too about science and money mistakes.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about what science has to say about money mistakes. I'm excited about this
Oh, I love this whole topic. There's a whole field of study called behavioral finance. And in fact, there's been two Nobel Prizes in economics that were awarded to psychologists. Because, traditional economics is all like rational humans and everybody coolly weighs the pros and cons of their decision. And then the psychologists come along and they're like, hello, economists, have you met people? Like, we're not coolly rational about anything in our life. Why would we be that way about money? So I really love the insights of behavioral finance that, yes, it's emotional. Yes, there are other things going on, but also they've done a lot of research proving that the human brain is wired to make financial mistakes, to do things like, there's one called recency bias, where, if you're looking at the financial markets and they've been really rocky lately and kind of been going down, our bias is to think that it's going to be going on like that for the future, when there's really no predictive capability. What happened last month is not going to predict what happens next month. But we as human beings tend to have these series of kind of mental shortcuts we take. My favorite book title on this topic, I think, sums it up well. It's by Dan Ariely from Duke University, and it's called Predictably Irrational. So it's not a character flaw that we are irrational about money. We're actually irrational in predictable ways because of this brain science. So when I share that, I see women kind of, their shoulders go down. They're like, oh, it's not a character flaw that I make those mistakes. No, it's like, it's this thing we carry around between our ears and how the chemistry works.
That's so interesting. And, especially this year, we've been seeing the stock market going all over the place. We're seeing the news, the sky is falling, the recession is coming, like all of this stuff. And you're just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And I had my annual meeting with my financial advisor, and she's like, how are you holding up? I said, I'm holding up fine because I'm just not looking.
Uh-huh.
I trust
Good
you to do
strategy.
the job I hired you to do. And she said, that's the best strategy. And, we're humans. We make mistakes. We do move things around too quickly or make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've done it, pulling stock out of my little Robinhood account, right? Pulling in something, moving over quickly, and then all of a sudden it recovered. It's like, okay, get back to the ostrich effect, head in the sand,
Yes.
do the best that you can and move on. I also think that we forget that money is a resource. It is abundant, more abundant. You can always add to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you lose it, you can find it again. How do you help women through that piece of it? Because I think we get really stuck on, oh my gosh, I can't afford for this to happen. Or, oh, this thing happened. I can never let that happen again. So I can't take any risk.
Yeah. There's kind of this accepted belief out there that women are risk averse when it comes to using their money. And Sally Krawcheck, who was a big executive on Wall Street, and she started that company Elvest, she pushes back and she's like, no, I think women are risk aware.
Yeah.
So it's more that when we fully understand the risks we're being asked to take, right? Like I had a client once, she called up when the market was down at some point and she's like, tell me, is it all gone? I was like, no, like it's down 20% and that kind of sucks, but it's not gone. She's like, oh, just listening to the headlines, we're kind of programmed to think that the risk is you're going to lose everything. When in reality, if you're in a, well-diversified stock mutual fund, it is going to bounce around, but are all of those companies going to go bankrupt at the same time? Probably not.
Most
So,
definitely.
I think just kind of gauging and putting some boundaries around what that risk really is helps women feel more comfortable.
Yeah, that's so good. Oh my gosh. I'm getting so many great nuggets today. So I know our listeners are probably just taking notes through this whole conversation. A question for you too is, what is one step women can take today to feel more in control of their money?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to do a two-parter. One is to, like you said, start looking at where the dollars are going, the dollars coming in, the dollars going out. But at the same time, notice the stories you tell yourself when that happens. Notice the emotions that come up. My stomach clenches when I go to open my bank account. Oh, that's interesting. Right. And then try to take off the judgmental hat and put on your investigator hat, your scientist hat. Like, ooh, there's a pattern here. Every time, I get paid, I feel like, oh, I'm flush and I might go treat myself to something. Or, whatever the pattern is, just the noticing without judgment. Because again, there's no shame. There should be no shame around this stuff. Our brains are wired a certain way. We're in this complex environment. No one taught us. Okay. Now, if I can bring that lens to it and be gentle with myself and then look at what is going on with my dollars, then I think we can get a lot of insight and a lot of awareness, a lot of aha moments that can really help us moving forward.
Yeah, that's so good. We judge ourselves so harshly sometimes. Just
Yeah.
being able to pull back from that and pull back from the emotion. We talked a little bit about this too, but I'd love your insight on it. Is how can women find a financial professional they actually enjoy working with?
First of all, I want to tell everybody listening that if you have a financial professional right now and you don't feel like they're a good fit, you're allowed to leave. A lot of people don't really realize that. We get fired every day. People leave their financial advisors. I've talked to women who've kind of inherited their advisors, either from an ex-husband or from parents, and they think they're stuck. And maybe their advisor wants them to believe that. You are not stuck. You can leave and find someone new. But when you're going to find someone, I think the first thing is to get really clear on what kind of help you're looking for. Is it just picking investments? Is it doing kind of the broader, what we would call in the business, like the financial planning, the like, am I on track for these goals? Or help me figure out what buckets I should be putting money into to plan for my corporate escape? Is that the question you're looking for? Or is it something completely different? Getting clear on those questions, what kind of help you're looking for, will then help you find a financial advisor who does that thing and maybe even who specializes in people like you. Because one of the big problems with my profession is we can call ourselves whatever we want. I can call myself a financial planner, a financial advisor, an investment advisor, a wealth manager, a money manager, guru of the world. I can literally call myself anything. And there will be 1,000 other people calling themselves the same thing. And we all have a slightly different business model and a different client experience. So you kind of got to dig in and ask the questions. And don't be afraid to ask how they get paid. That's not a rude question.
Oh my gosh, I love that you just said that because that's a thing, right? We're so
Totally.
worried about asking the money question. Yet again, money,
Yes.
right? But how do you get paid? Am I
How
paying
do you get
you? Are you
paid?
getting paid based on your performance? Does your company pay you? Who's paying
Yep.
you? So
Yep.
that's amazing. That's a great question.
And
Um,
there's no necessarily right or wrong, but
yeah,
you want to know
absolutely. But
what's
just
going on.
knowing.
Follow the money.
Yeah, I love that. And I just say too, when you find that great relationship, you still can't be afraid to change if something changes in that process.
Yep.
Um, I know through Fidelity, my person changed, but they were wise. They must have kept notes because now I work with Danielle. So Like, do not mess with this lady. She knows what she wants. And, knowing that it's someone who can relate, someone like you, when you're relating with your other, midlife women who are in this space, like
Yeah.
knowing that you've kind of lived a similar life and you understand our experiences, that makes a huge difference and builds that great connection for your clients.
Mhm. Yep. And if you're not getting what you want from your person, ask, say, hey, I was really hoping we could talk about this. Or if you don't feel comfortable pushing back and like, hey, you're using a whole bunch of jargon here. I need you to back up and explain to me exactly what that means. If that feels uncomfortable, maybe that's a sign.
Yeah, that's a good point. We talked a bit about shame, kind of that money shame and self-judgment. How can we tackle that? How can we either set it aside, get rid of it, lessen it? How do we fix that?
Oh, it's definitely a big puzzle. It's a big difficulty. But one of my suggestions is to find yourself a money buddy, someone in your life. It may or may not be your significant other. It might not be your best friend. It might be that friend down the street with whom you can kind of feel like you can talk and not be judged, right? You're looking for someone who's not going to judge you. And then see if that person would be willing to dive into the money conversations and talk about, kind of the baggage we hold around money and maybe how money was treated in our families growing up. And I think some of those conversations can help unearth the subconscious stories we're telling ourselves and the things that might be driving our behavior, again, in a supportive, comfortable environment where we're not going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't tell her that I lost that paycheck that one time and never found it. No, you want to find someone that you can share this stuff with, and maybe you can laugh together and support each other and, kind of find that safe space to have the vulnerable conversations.
That is such great advice. And I actually have a couple of money buddies, but
Excellent.
ones that I know won't judge me when I talk about crypto because I don't
Uh-huh.
understand what it really is. I just understand kind of how it works. And I've seen
Cool.
the money go up, I've seen the money go down, kind of depending on the type, right? But even in that situation, following that same advice, I mean, I'm able to say, hey, I found this one. What do you think? Or have you looked at this? Or how do you feel about
Uh-huh.
that one? And, we're able to talk about, oh, yeah, I saw this happen and I started pulling my money out of it. But guess what? It went right back up to almost double the next day. And there's no judgment. We can laugh about it. Again, it's my smaller investment fund anyway, but it's where I'm learning and having fun and
Hmm.
playing in the sandbox, and having other people in that sandbox has been a
Yeah.
really great experience. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Nice.
And be careful of people you might find online because they might have an ulterior motive.
Yes, anything online, right? That's the last thing
Yeah.
you need. We don't
You've
need
got to
it.
do a lot of due diligence.
Oh my goodness. Stephanie, this has been such an amazing conversation. I can only imagine that some of our listeners are going to want to continue it. How can they connect with you or learn more from you?
Yeah. So my website is sofiafinancial.com, SOFIA financial. I always say I'm Stephanie with a PH and it's Sophia with an F. And then there's links to our social medias, on most of the social medias. And then we also have a podcast called Take Back Retirement, which will feature Tabitha very soon.
Exactly. I'm so excited. And we will include all of those links in the show notes. So if our listener missed something, they can absolutely grab it. What is a bit of parting advice you might have for our listeners? Something that we maybe haven't shared yet that is really important for them to know as they're going forward with their day?
Yeah, I think it goes back to this idea that the numbers aren't judging you. If you look at your bank balance or your 401k balance or whatever and start to feel that shame, remember that judgment is coming from our own heads, from stories we picked up somewhere along the way or messaging. It's not the numbers. The numbers are completely neutral. So noticing those stories or tendencies or feelings, I think, is really a good first step. And often, journaling about that. I don't know about you, but I find when I'm spinning in my own head and not getting anywhere, if I start writing, I actually go somewhere and often to a place that I am so totally surprised about and I get new insights. So journaling about your money stuff might be a good baby step, non-threatening step to start with.
Oh my gosh, that's such great advice. And yes, on the journaling, include journal prompts in all my programs, just things to start getting those juices flowing and get you out of your head. And I have never actually journaled for my financial feelings. I am going to take that because
excellent.
I usually have done career and life and relationship and kids and whatever, but all right, we're adding it. We're adding that to the list. So thank you. Oh my gosh, Stephanie, this has been so fun. I'm glad that you were able to join us today. And I really look forward to staying connected. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome. I love talking about this stuff. So it's great to find someone else who's into it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us today on the Gen X Remix. Oh my gosh, how good was that? Stephanie dropped so many truth bombs. I'll definitely be re-listening to this episode with my journal in hand. And I will absolutely be journaling about my money mindset starting this week. Don't forget to follow Stephanie at sofiafinancial.com and on Instagram and her YouTube channels. All those links will be in the show notes to make it really easy for you. And if you're planning your own bold next act, maybe a pivot out of corporate or into something more aligned, you need a financial game plan. You need a bit more than that, but we definitely want to start with that financial side. And we built this into the Corporate Escape Accelerator, which is our 6-month container for women who are ready to lay the groundwork before walking away from the security of that corporate paycheck and benefits. You don't have to leap without a plan, friend. This is your chance to launch smart. Spots are limited, so pop on over to corporateescapesherpa.com and apply now. Let's make your next act your best yet. Until next time, friends, ditch the shame, grab your power, and remix your money story. We'll see you next time.